Hello, our question is how many AP classes have you taken throughout the high school? And we use convenient sample method where we sent a Google form to all the classmates and ask a student in our class. This is convenient sample because we gather the data from the people who were close by and accessible.
Okay, so for your measure spread, first you have your range, which is your minimum subtracted from your maximum. So our maximum was 17, and then our minimum was 0. So then 17 minus 0 would give you a range of 17. And your IQR is found by subtracting your Q3 from your Q1. So then 10 minus 4 would give you an IQR of 6. And you get your Q1 by finding the median of the upper half of the lower half of the data, and your Q3 by finding the median of the upper half of the data. And for your standard deviation variance, first you have to find the mean, which in our case was 6.93, and then you subtract it from all your data points, and then you square them and then add them together, and then you have to divide by the number of data points you have, which in our case was 100. And then that'll give you your variance, and in order to find your standard deviation, you have to take the square root of the variance, which will give you your standard deviation. So our variance was 17.51, which was almost 16, which was around 16. So our standard deviation will be a bit more than 4, and it was, and we got our standard deviation as 4.184.
From our dataset, we were able to find the measures of central tendency, and this includes the mean, median, mode, and mid-range. Mean, in other words, is the average of all your values in your dataset, and the way you find this is by adding up all of the numbers and dividing them by how many there are, which in our case was 100. And so we got 6.93 as our mean. The next one is the median, which is the middle point of all of our data values. So you have to order them from least to greatest and then cross them out starting from the outside to the inside, and you find the middle. In our case it was 6. And then the next one was mode, which is the number that occurs the most in our data set, which was 6, which had 15 responses. And lastly, we had mid-range, which is the average of the maximum and minimum, which was 8.5.
This is a pie chart we made of our data, and each sliver represents a different number of AP classes. And if you look, the numbers 0 through 6 represents about 50% of the whole graph. And so that just shows that there's a trend that most people at Panther Creek took a fewer amount of AP classes than some of their peers.